Let's talk about some of my favorite releases at Watches and Wonders here in Geneva this year, as well as some of those that I feel like could have been a little bit better. I'm here in my hotel room in Geneva after my first day at Watches and Wonders. I saw 4 brands today. I kind of like to line up my favorite brands for the first day. So we're gonna talk Rolex, Tudor, Cartier, and we're gonna get to stuff that I still want to be able to see here throughout the rest of the week. I'm gonna be here all week. So if you want to see my hands-on impressions when I get to see brands like Jaeger-LeCoultre, Tag Heuer, Lange, all of those, go ahead and follow me at unpolishedwatches.com. It's my newsletter. You can subscribe for free, though it is supported by paid subscribers. They're the ones who make it possible for me to go on trips like this. Okay, let's get to it. Of course, we've gotta start with Rolex. The big story for them is that it's their 100th anniversary, or I should say it's the 100th anniversary of the Oyster Perpetual, dating back to 1926. This is the technology. So Oyster in Rolex speak is their waterproof cases that are basically the foundation of the entire brand, or at least all of the professional or sports watches as we know them. And then Perpetual is automatic. So a perpetual rotor is perpetually in motion. There's something for everyone in every size, basically. They've done a special OP in 28 millimeters all the way up to 41 millimeters. It starts at 41. There's this unique anthracite gray dial. It's in a 2-tone Rolex Oyster Perpetual case. They say it's inspired by these vintage Rolex Zephyr dials or Zephyr watches, which was an OP from the 50s and 60s. Super clean, minimalist, very mid-century watch. I honestly wish you could see a little bit more of those cues in this. Bring back the sector or the crosshair dial. Here it kind of just looks like a anthracite gray OP. Okay, at 36, they've got the Rolex Jubilee dial, they call it. We've seen this for a few years now, right? They like to play with colors in the Oyster Perpetual lineup, and this is what they're calling their Jubilee dial. It calls or references old Rolex patterns, so it's just Rolex in repeating bright colors all across the dial. It's probably not my favorite of the colorful Rolex dials we've seen, the celebration dials, or just the solid colors we've seen. So last year we saw those muted lavender, beige, pistachio dials. I really like those. This feels like more of a hype item almost, right? That said, obviously it's going to be hard to get. My favorite OPs that they've done though, that they did for this anniversary are the smaller ones at 34 and 28 millimeters. So 34 more of a unisex size. In each size, they did a brushed gold case, entirely brushed gold. The 34 is rose gold, Rolex is Rolex, and then the 28 is a yellow gold, and they both have different matching stone lacquer colored dials. So the larger one is a blue lacquer, the smaller is yellow gold paired with green lacquer. I would love if they would have made that at 34 millimeters. Beautiful looking watch. It's also interesting because these are all, or a lot of them are 2-tone. Rolex is playing with 2-tone or with full gold, and seeing a cool full brushed gold case like this on the Oyster Perpetual it reminds me of the Tudor Black Bay 58 we saw a few years ago. Kind of this very rugged look, but it's something we haven't seen them doing in the Oyster Perpetual that is 2-tone and all gold since the 2000s. More broadly, it's cool to see Rolex paying tribute to what is effectively the foundation of its modern brand, if not like all of sports watches more broadly, in the sense that as Rolex goes, so goes everyone else. They're celebrating the waterproof case and their automatic movement, which is everything for Rolex, right? And they've even said explicitly before that they don't do celebrations and anniversaries. And that has really changed because you see 100 years here right on the dial, and these are all tied specifically to that 1926 anniversary. There's a lot more from Rolex. There's an enamel dial off catalog Daytona. Again, it's mostly steel, and then the bezel and some of the other features are in precious metals, but it's an off-catalog watch. $57,000 for a mostly steel Daytona is certainly on the expensive side, but no doubt this is a beautiful looking watch. Something that someone was pointing out to me, I was talking to the Hodinkee team, some of my former colleagues there, and they were saying that Rolex has developed the Grand View enamel process. They're baking it onto a ceramic disc instead of just a brass dial, which is typical of enamel. Historically, that's how it was done, just baked on a brass blank. This is baked onto ceramic, which is supposed to make it a little bit more durable. So very Rolex of them to think of a way to make a more durable enamel Daytona. So that's the Daytona. You know, in my first video for this YouTube channel, I made predictions about Rolex, and I said that I didn't think we would see much in the way of steel watches. We would see two-tone, we would see gold. Rolex has really moved into this area as a premium luxury product. They're above watches in many levels. They're status symbols. They're beautiful, amazingly made products, and that's why they command the respect they do within the industry and more broadly just consumers worldwide. That's why Rolex is literally the crown. But that prediction came true in the sense that most of these watches are two-tone, they're gold. That OP36 is steel, but everything else is playing with precious metals in some way. I was surprised that there's no iterations on the Land Dweller. Rumors that the Land Dweller actually got kind of pulled up a year and that was going to be a release for this year. So perhaps it does make sense that there's nothing for this year and they're still catching up on deliveries for what I'm sure is a very popular watch. Okay, let's move on to Tudor. They did something I did not expect. They released a new watch. So not a Black Bay, not a Pelagos, the Tudor Monarch. I'm surprised by how much I like it too, actually. This is my 4th year at Watches and Wonders, so it takes a little bit more to get me excited at this point, but Tudor releasing a new watch, something that draws on different parts of its history in different ways, is very exciting. It's interesting. The Tudor Monarch, it measures 39 millimeters. It's got this angular case, but it's pretty compact. On my 6.5-inch wrist, I thought it wore pretty good. It's because it's 46 millimeters lug to lug, and then it's only 12 millimeters thick, a little bit less, I'm sorry, about 11.9. And the angular case makes it appear even less than that. So one of the things about Tudor historically, modern Tudor, is it's a bit slab-sided on the side, right? But this is actually quite thin, so it's a pleasant surprise from Tudor. The bracelet, similarly, it's a new bracelet style for Tudor. It's light, it's flexible, it's a little bit more comfortable, in my opinion, just because of how light it is, than the Black Bay or Pelagos bracelets that exist in the lineup. I mean, the Pelagos is titanium bracelet, but you kind of get what I'm saying. This is light, flexible, it wears really nicely. The price, I will mention, is $5,800 USD. It's a lot for a Tudor at this point. I mean, I remember buying my Black Bay 58 for about $3,700, whatever it would have been back in 2018, 2019. So that's Tudor moving up market, I guess, as we like to say. But it's a really nice looking watch. It's nice to see them doing something different. That dial, too, is kind of hard to describe. I don't think it's a salmon. The salmon dials are passe at this point, but this is more of a golden copper hue. It's really rich and vibrant, too. The layout is called an error-proof dial. It kind of draws on old. You can find Rolex patents actually for this half Arabic and half Roman numeral dial. So that's kind of cool to see them drawing on that in a way that it's kind of connected to an old Rolex bubbleback, let's say, or the Tudor equivalent, but in a completely different way, in a case that feels more 1970s almost. Beyond that, for Tudor, it's kind of iterative. They've got a new Black Bay 58. It's blue. It's a blue sunburst dial and then a matching bezel. Honestly, they've done this a few times now where they're adding more sunburst dials to these Black Bay watches, to their divers. I don't know how I feel about it. It can get a little bit shiny for me. I like the standard matte dials a little bit more. So, for example, they updated the Black Bay 58 this year, and they made it MEDAS certified in line with the Burgundy last year, which, speaking of bright, that thing just shouts from the wrist. But I like the traditional matte dial of the Black Bay 58, even a Tudor Pelagos or something like that. The sunburst dials, I get that they're fashionable. I get that people want something that pops, but it's not for me personally. Call me a purist, call me stodgy. I don't really care. After that, new bracelets. You can get the 5-link for the Black Bay 58, for the 58 GMT. There's a new ceramic bracelet for the Black Bay ceramic as well. It's just this murdered out all black watch. I think I can leave Tudor there. The big news is the Monarch. And honestly, I talked to them. They said I could get a hands-on, so I might get a sample of that watch back in the States when I get back from Geneva this week. Let's move on to Cartier, something different from Rolex, Tudor. Elegance, dress watches, so many watches. The big news for collectors is the Prive collection. The Prive collection is the watches they've been doing since 2016, where they bring back a different historic watch each year and kind of do a limited or small run of watches for those. So they've done the Centre, they've done the Normal, they've done the Tortue Mana Pusher. Interestingly, this year, I guess because it's the 10th anniversary, we're not getting a new shape this year, which is something I perhaps would have liked to see. Instead, we're getting kind of a greatest hits collection. So they're doing 2 trios of watches. They're doing a platinum trio, first of all. That's the Crash, the Tank Normal, and the Tortue Mana Pusher. Again, all watches we've seen. The Crash is new in the sense that the skeletonization is more comprehensive, I guess is the word. It's just even more beautifully executed than the previous Crash skeletons that we've seen. Really looks has this like handmade quality or something to it. It's hard to describe. The Tank Normal comes on a beautiful 7-link bracelet, which we saw back in 2023. I believe it would have been. The thing that they did change as well, that last watch they did of the Tank Normal in platinum was quite monochromatic and fell a little bit flat, the dial. These watches, all three of the platinum ones, have red accents, burgundy accents, very Cartier to pair platinum and burgundy like that. So again, the Tortue monopusher, very similar. I gotta say that Roman numeral at the top of the monopusher, really, really big. But really three nicely executed watches. What else can you expect from Cartier in the Prive collection? The other thing they did is a trio of yellow gold watches that they call La Collection. The three yellow golds are a Tank Cintre, Tank Normal, and a Cloche. The thing that these share in common, besides strap style, is blued Breguet style hands. I don't think they can call them Breguet style hands, but that's kind of what they are. You know, it's funny, I was going back and forth. I just made an Instagram video. I called the Normal my favorite one, the Platinum Normal, just because of that bracelet is so beautiful. But I like that blue Breguet style hands on the Tank Normal. One of those is probably my favorite. Let me know what you think. But that's the Prive collection. I'll have a lot more thoughts in my newsletter. You know, for the rest of us, people like you and me that can't get a Prive for one reason or another, I will highlight they brought back the Roadster. They expanded the Banoir collection, the Santos collection. One thing they did with the Santos, they brought back these kind of all burgundy and all slate gray dials. Those watches from the 80s and 90s have really just gone crazy over the past couple of years. So it's really Cartier paying attention to the collector's market, I think, and bringing those back for a more mass audience. My favorite of the more general commercial releases, let's call them, is the new linked bracelet for the Santos-Dumont. They've never had a bracelet for the Santos-Dumont before, so this is nice. It makes the watch feel sporty, but still dressy. I don't know. I mean, if you think about it, it's a sports watch from 1904 when Cartier made it for Alberto Santos-Dumont. That's kind of the first pilot's watch. But to see a bracelet for the Santos-Dumont itself is really nice. I mean, this is a really well-made bracelet. There have been just so many bracelets in the past few years from all kinds of brands. Really nice to see this. Platinum yellow gold. They've got it with standard dials, also a yellow gold with an obsidian dial, playing on the stone dial trend, which we've seen a lot of. But it looks nice, nicely paired, sort of black stone with yellow gold just makes sense. I will say, I would love to see them do this in stainless steel to make it even more accessible. I don't know if that's in the cards or not, but for now, gold and platinum for those new bracelets. A few more things I saw that I want to mention. Vacheron released a lot of really great watches this year. I just want to point out the Ultra Slim Overseas might have been the best watch I've seen this year. It's in platinum. Unfortunately for all of us, it's limited to 255 pieces. It's also expensive. It's $120,000. I feel like this is going to be a hyped watch. It's going to be hard to get. That salmon dial is really nice. They've kind of applied this finish to it that makes it not quite as bright as a typical sunburst dial. But one of my favorite, or one of the best, just objectively speaking, modern Vacherons was the 2016 ultra thin Overseas. So to see them bring that back in a watch that's 39 millimeters, 7.5 millimeters thick, the thinnest Overseas they've ever made, a little bit thinner than that 2016 one. It's a really impressive, really beautiful watch. Deserves all of the attention that I think it's going to get from collectors who know what's up. I've been looking at press releases like the rest of you and photos from a lot of my colleagues in media. I'm excited to see the Lange Saxonia annual calendar. They shrank it down to 36 millimeters. Who else is doing a calendar watch in 36 millimeters? I'm really excited to see that. Jaeger-LeCoultre has that Master Control chronometer collection. They've got time only all the way up to a perpetual calendar. Really compelling watch. It's about 8.5 millimeters thin, I think, in that in the time only model. It's this weird, interesting mix of dress and sport that I think JLC, if they do it right, can pull off better than anyone else. So I'm really excited to see that. Closing thoughts before I leave. All of these watches that I mentioned, one of the things that really appeals to me about them is just brands are really paying attention to proportions and ergonomics in a way that I haven't really seen previously. I've mentioned thinness a handful of times now. Tudor cares about thinness, apparently, now with the new Monarch. Jaeger-LeCoultre, Vacheron, all of these watches are really, really nicely proportioned, ergonomic. Of course, Cartier and even Rolex have always gotten this right. But to see that trickling down across the board is really exciting. You know, the final thought I'll leave you with, I wrote in my newsletter in the preview article about how a lot of these watches are really exhibit pieces. They're made as one-offs or for special clients, things like that, limited editions, and we'll be lucky to see them again in the wild. That's true for some of the pieces I highlighted, but I am really excited actually about some of the stuff that I feel like is more geared towards the common consumer enthusiast, some of the things that I've been mentioning here. Lange is an expensive watch, but to see an annual calendar at 36 millimeters, really exciting. Jaeger-LeCoultre, exact same thing. That just looks like a compulsively wearable watch right between dress and sport. Of course, Nomos has done this for a while, affordable complications. Tudor, same thing, affordable sports watches, but that Monarch really spans the gamut between dress and sport again. I think people just want watches that are somewhere in between the both of those. We're well past like integrated bracelet sports watch hype now, and people want dressy. People want those geezer watches that they talk about, and a lot of these watches are kind of serving that desire a little bit. But let me know what you've seen from Watches and Wonders, either in this video or elsewhere that you like. Again, check out unpolishedwatches.com. I'll have a lot more coverage this week. I'm also trying to post videos on Instagram as much as I can for more immediate coverage. You'll see shorts here too. And I'll be back again with a video on some of the stuff that we've seen released here in the next couple weeks. Again, this is a new channel for us, just the third video now, certainly the first YouTube video I've done from Watches and Wonders. I was really excited though to rush back to the hotel and get this off to Isaiah, my editor. So thanks to everyone for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.